What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google. I do have a question for y'all right now. How do y'all prepare ahead of time for interviews like this, considering that there's two of you?
So meaning like when we're the interviewees?
Yeah, when y'all are getting interviewed, like, how do y'all make sure that y'all aren't running over each other, taking each other's like topics, stealing each other's lines, as you say? Like, how do y'all do that?
Part of it is, oh, sorry. Oh, no, you go. Nailed it.
Crushed it. Well played, David. I was hoping you were going to do that. So part of becoming a good interviewee, which hopefully we are, you guys are feeling it right now, is that is also a muscle. It's like David and I are really clear on our messaging. We know what we teach. We know it well. We're passionate about it. So we're excited to talk about it. And David and I also, when you have another person, it's important to listen. Sometimes there's a bit of a lag on Zoom. So there will be like a little bit of over talk, but David and I also know for each other what each of our strengths are and what each of us particularly likes to talk about. And so if somebody asks one of us a question and we're like, oh, the other one would love it. You saw David was like, oh, I'm going to toss this to Abby. She loves talking about this. Or at the beginning, it was like, who wants to do the intro? Because we both do the intro sometimes. So it was like, oh, David, do you want to kick us off today and tell our story? And he did. So it's just listening, communication, and playing to your strengths.
Yeah. Honestly, boiled down into two words, prep process. Yeah. Just like everything else, we have a system in place for these types of interviews. Having the prep ahead of time to know who wants to talk about what, or at least what we want to talk about on the interview. Then, like Abby said, we can be listening during it and be like, you take this, I'll take this. Because we already know what we want to talk about.
When we've done TV interviews, we get a little bit more specific on like, if they're going to like, we have more of a general sense and we're like, you take questions about this, I'll take questions about that. This either one, like we'll get a little bit more specific on that, but we still just play off of each other. But we've also worked together for a long time. So we can do that.
Yeah. So it really just comes down to having that preparation ahead of time again.
Totally.
Awesome. So now we've talked a little bit about being the interviewee. What are some of the things that, being interviewed on a lot of different shows, what are some of the things that have made like some of the best hosts as the interviewer to y'all?
For me, someone who is prepared, meaning that they come on to the interview with questions. Doesn't mean they have to ask them all, right? They can go with the flow, but they at least have questions prepared. They listen, aren't constantly cutting someone off, or like we'll say an answer and then they'll go into their next question, but we actually already answered it. And like just right before, it's just clear they weren't listening at all. So when I have someone who is preparing ahead of time, who is listening, and it's just really just having fun with us, just making it a conversation. That's all an interview is. It's just a conversation. It's just people watching. But how's that different if you were having a conversation in a group of people? Meaning like we were standing all in a circle together. Interviews aren't really that different. Mm-hmm. Unless you're on the Tonight Show and you're doing a sketch. But besides that, that's all I really care about. I just want them to be prepared and to listen to me. I guess you could say do their homework and know what they're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. That makes sense. So I do want to ask both of y'all before we wrap this up, if you could each go back and have a conversation with yourselves before y'all ever started a business, what would y'all make sure that y'all knew and understood?
Honestly, I already know mine.
Go.
You want to go first? Okay, mine. Don't waste time trying to figure out how everything works, and just hire people to help you. And what I mean by that is whether that's hire someone who's better at something than I am and they can come onto my team and help me. But also, and this is the one I really believe in, we talked about it actually at the beginning, so it's a good kind of bookend. Hire the expert that can teach you how to be better at whatever and just expedite your process, right? So, and Abby and I still do that to this day. We just invested in a coach. Even though we're coaches, we invested in a coach on something that we were struggling with. And we were like, we don't need to waste 7, 8, 9 months doing this because we're too afraid to spend the money. And it was a good chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
Because to us, the money was worth having all of that time back, because that's how we can grow our business. If we're wasting time trying to figure it out, we're not able to grow it all, because I'm too busy trying to figure this out then so I could grow it. I'm stalling my business by a year, by months. F that. Here's the money. Teach me quickly, and now let's go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll make that money back in no time.
Sooner. I wish I had realized sooner that time is the only resource we cannot get back.
Yeah, it's so important to bet on yourself, like with what David's saying. I remember the first course that I bought, I had such money mindset issues. I was terrified to spend $997, like $1,000. I took out a credit card I didn't have it. I took out a credit card and I was like, oh, well, if I can get at least one client, it'll be worth it. And I worked my ass off, and I've had like, I don't know, whatever, 300, 400x return on that investment from that coach. We just spent way more than that on that same coach. And I didn't even flinch this time spending that kind of money. I was like so clear on it, because it's so important to bet on yourself and to be able to put that money in to make money. So like what David was saying, the other thing for me that has been so crucial, and I would say one of the biggest things that I continuously remind myself on, is imperfect action. Because so often we can try to wait for something to be perfect or for us to be better at something to start, but actually the most important thing is starting. When I started my digital marketing agency, I didn't have an agency name. I didn't have an agency email address. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any results. I was able to scale that past 10K in a matter of a few months with none of that stuff. I didn't even know how to do digital marketing until I started learning it, And it's like only then later, then it was like, okay, I got my business email, I got my testimonials, I got all that stuff. But it's like, I hear people being like, I can't start because I don't have this. I can't start because that. Take imperfect action and trust that you're going to figure it out as you go. And that's going to be a constant evolution. It's like, you're never going to have it all figured out at the beginning. And if you wait for that, you'll never begin. So just get started and bet on yourself.
That's huge. That's one of the biggest things that prevents most people from getting anywhere is they say they want, but they never actually take the steps to go get it.
Yep.
It's scary.
I was just going to say that. I mean, it's scary. Even when, whether you're investing $997 or, there's people who are selling things for $30,000, $50,000. And if you can, it's scary no matter what. Yeah. Even if you have the money, it's scary, but it's worth it if you believe in yourself.
I wasn't scared this time when we invested. I was like, we got this.
Yeah.
But that's come from the experience. Like, you've been doing it for a bit now, so you're more confident about it, right?
Yeah. But honestly, I would say, at least for me, I don't know about you, Abby, but I would say if you asked me a year ago to spend that type of money, I would have been like, I still would have been petrified, no matter what the price range was. Now, I'm like,
well, that's why I bring up that it's been amazing for me to reflect back on my mindset when I got started a few years ago, being like, I was so afraid to spend $1,000. And now I'm like, oh, $1,000 course wouldn't be enough for me. I wanted, we got on a sales call with the program we bought into, and there's this program and there's this one. And I'm like, I want the more expensive one, please. Thank you. Because I just knew that we were going to be able to scale faster with it. But then again, you don't start there, but you develop that as you go.
Absolutely. There's a huge amount of power in just recognizing where you're weak and finding the people who are strong there. And too many people don't even want to recognize where they're weak.
Yeah.
So what is the best place for people to see more of you guys?
Well, we're I would say our social media platforms of choice is typically Facebook. So you could friend David Storch, Abby Walla. If you do friend us, shoot us a message and let us know that you came from this group, just so we know to accept you. We have a Facebook group as well that focuses a lot on the on-camera stuff called Confidence on Camera for Entrepreneurs. And I can drop the link in below. That would be a great place to start getting familiar with our content and all of that. And then if you are interested in working with us more closely, like Trey has, like we talked about, having more of a shortcut to success with being on camera, we do have a coaching program, which we do application by application. So reach out to David or I, and we can see if that's a good fit for you right now.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jayson Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lechter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Jim Kwik, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.